Daniel Carter had stopped counting the days. In the beginning, he marked each sunrise on the wall of his small room. But after 2 years, the marks became too many, and hope became too heavy to carry. He was a slave now, a servant in the great palace of the Volanthi Empire. The aliens who ruled this part of the galaxy were tall and beautiful in a cold way. Their skin was pale blue, their eyes silver like mirrors. They moved with grace and spoke with voices that sounded like music. But beneath that beauty was something hard, something that saw humans as nothing more than useful animals. Daniel remembered Earth. He remembered his small house, his old truck, his job fixing machines at the factory. He remembered his daughter, Lily. She was 5 years old when they took him. 5 years old with brown hair and a laugh that made everything feel okay. He did not know if she was alive. He did not know if anyone was looking for him. All he knew was this palace, these cold halls, and the endless work that filled his days. The Volanthi did not treat their human slaves with open cruelty. They simply did not think about them at all. To them, humans were like furniture, useful, silent, and easily replaced. Daniel had learned to keep his head down. He fixed things that broke. He carried heavy loads. He cleaned floors and walls. He never complained. But sometimes, late at night, he would sit in his small room and look at a worn photograph. It was the only thing he had kept hidden from his captors. A picture of Lily, smiling at the camera with a missing front tooth. He would hold it against his chest and make a silent promise. One day, somehow, he would find her again. The palace was enormous. It had hundreds of rooms, long hallways made of white stone, and gardens filled with strange glowing plants. At its heart was the throne room, where Queen Saralan ruled over her empire. Daniel had seen the queen only a few times. She was tall, even for a Volanthi. Her silver eyes seemed to look through everything and everyone. When she spoke, the whole room went silent. People said she had ruled for over 300 years. People said she had never shown mercy to anyone. Daniel believed it. There was something in her eyes that made him feel like an insect, but there was another member of the royal family, one that Daniel had not expected. Princess Kaya was young. She looked like a human child of 7 or 8, though Daniel knew she was probably much older in Volanthi years. Unlike her mother, Kaya was curious. Her silver eyes were wide with wonder instead of cold with power. She asked questions about everything. She smiled often. She laughed the first time she spoke to Daniel. He almost dropped the tools he was carrying. He was fixing a broken light in one of the lower hallways. It was a simple job, something no one else wanted to do. He heard soft footsteps behind him and turned to see the princess standing there, watching him with her head tilted to one side. "You are a human," she said. It was not a question. Daniel bowed his head quickly. "Yes, princess. What is your name?" He hesitated. No one had asked his name in 2 years. "Daniel, princess." "Daniel," she repeated, as if tasting the word. "That is a strange name. What does it mean?" "I am not sure, princess. It is just a name." She nodded slowly, still watching him with those bright silver eyes. "My tutors say humans come from a dangerous world. They say your planet is full of poison and fire and giant beasts." Daniel almost smiled. "It is not that bad, princess. We have trees and oceans and animals. Some of them are dangerous, but most of them are not. Do you miss it? Your world?" The question hit him harder than he expected. He swallowed and looked down at his tools. "Yes, princess. I miss it very much." She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Do humans have families?" "Like we do?" "Yes, princess. We have mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, children. Do you have children?" Daniel felt his chest tighten. "I have a daughter. Her name is Lily. Where is she?" On Earth, princess. Far away from here. The princess frowned. It was a small frown, the kind a child makes when they do not understand something sad. That must hurt. To be far from your child. Daniel nodded. He did not trust his voice. Princess Kaya looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were cool and soft. I am sorry, Daniel. I hope you see her again someday. Before he could respond, she turned and walked away, her small footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. After that day, the princess came to find him often. She would appear when he was working alone, always with more questions. She asked about Earth, about human food, about why humans smiled, about what it felt like to have hair. Daniel answered every question carefully, always aware that speaking too much to royalty could get him killed, but he could not help himself. When Kaya talked to him, she reminded him of Lily. The same curiosity, the same bright eyes, the same way of tilting her head when she was thinking. He knew it was dangerous to care. He knew that in this palace, humans did not matter. But something in his heart refused to stay cold. Weeks passed. Daniel continued his work. The princess continued her visits. And slowly, without meaning to, Daniel began to feel something he had forgotten. Hope. But hope in the Volanti Palace was a dangerous thing. One morning, the palace began to prepare for important visitors. Servants ran everywhere, cleaning and polishing. Guards stood straighter. Even the air felt tense. Daniel heard the other slaves whispering. The Corvith were coming, a rival faction from the outer systems. Their leader, Lord Draven, was known across the galaxy for two things: his hatred of humans and his cruelty. Daniel felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He looked toward the upper halls, where Princess Kaya liked to walk. He did not know why, but he felt afraid for her. And deep inside, a voice told him that everything was about to change. The Corvith arrived at midday. Their ships were black and sharp, like blades cutting through the sky. Daniel watched from a window as they landed in the palace courtyard. Soldiers marched out in perfect lines, their armor dark red. Their faces hidden behind metal masks. At the front walked Lord Draven. He was taller than most Volanti, with skin the color of ash and eyes that burned like hot coals. His claws were long and curved, and he kept them unsheathed as he walked. Everything about him said the same thing. I am dangerous. I enjoy being dangerous. The palace staff had been warned. Stay out of sight. Do not speak. Do not make eye contact. The Corvith did not like humans. Lord Draven especially did not like humans. Daniel planned to follow those rules. He would stay in the lower halls, finish his work, and wait for the visitors to leave. It was the smart thing to do. The safe thing. But Princess Kaya did not know about safe things. The diplomatic meeting was held in the Great Hall, but afterward, the Corvith delegation was given a tour of the royal gardens. Daniel was there, trimming dead leaves from the glowing plants, trying to stay invisible. He saw Lord Draven walking with his soldiers. The alien lord looked at everything with disgust, as if the beauty around him was an insult. When he passed a group of human servants, he stopped. Still keeping these creatures, I see, Draven said loudly. His voice was rough, like stones grinding together. I thought the Volanti had more pride. The servants kept their heads down. They did not move. They did not breathe. Draven laughed. It was an ugly sound. Look at them, shaking like prey animals. This is what humans are. Weak, worthless, fit only for labor and death. He nodded to one of his soldiers. The soldier stepped forward and shoved the nearest human servant hard. The man fell to the ground, gasping in pain. Get up, Draven said coldly. Or do humans not even know how to stand? The servant tried to rise, but his legs were shaking too much. The soldier raised his boot to kick him. "Stop it." The voice was small but clear. Everyone turned. Princess Kaya stood at the edge of the garden. Her silver eyes were bright with anger. Her small hands were clenched into fists. "You cannot hurt him," she said. "He did nothing wrong." For a moment, no one moved. The garden was silent, except for the soft hum of the glowing plants. Then Lord Draven smiled. It was not a kind smile. "The little princess speaks," he said slowly. He walked toward her, his claws clicking against the stone path. "Does your mother know you talk to guests this way? Does she know you defend vermin?" Kaya did not step back. "They are not vermin. They are people." Draven stopped in front of her. He was so much taller that he blocked out the light. "You are a child. You know nothing about the universe. Let me teach you something." He raised his clawed hand. Daniel did not think. His body moved before his mind could stop it. He ran. He crossed the garden in seconds. He threw himself between Draven and the princess, just as the claws came down. The blow hit him across the back and shoulder. He felt the claws tear through his shirt and into his skin. Pain exploded through his body, white-hot and blinding. But he did not fall. He wrapped his arms around the princess and turned his back to Draven, shielding her with his body. "What is this?" Draven's voice was full of surprise and anger. "A human dares to interfere?" Daniel did not answer. He could not answer. The pain was too much. Blood ran down his back and dripped onto the stone. "Kill him," Draven ordered. The soldiers moved forward. Daniel felt the first kick hit his ribs. Then another. Then another. He curled around the princess, keeping her safe inside the circle of his arms. He felt bones crack. He felt his skin split. He tasted blood in his mouth, but he did not let go. Kaya was screaming. "Stop! Please stop! You are killing him!" The soldiers did not stop. They kicked and struck and beat him until he could not feel his own body anymore. The world became dark at the edges. Sound became distant, but still, he held on. Enough. The voice cut through everything. Cold, powerful, absolute. The soldiers froze. Even Draven went still. Queen Siralin stood at the entrance to the garden. Her silver eyes were fixed on the scene before her. Her face showed nothing, but the air around her seemed to crackle with power. She walked forward slowly. Her footsteps were silent on the stone. The crowd parted for her like water dots. She stopped in front of Daniel. He was barely conscious. His body was broken. His blood was everywhere. But his arms were still wrapped around her daughter. His eyes, though clouded with pain, were still open. "Mother," Kaya whispered. Tears ran down her face. "He saved me. Draven was going to hit me, and he saved me." The queen looked at her daughter. Then she looked at Daniel. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she turned to Lord Draven. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across the entire garden. "You raised your hand against my daughter." Draven straightened. "The child insulted me. I was merely, you raised your hand against my daughter," the queen repeated. "And this human, this slave, this creature you call worthless, stood between you and her. He took your blow. He took your beating. He protected royal blood with his own body." She stepped closer to Draven. Though she was shorter than him, she seemed to tower over him. "Leave my palace," she said. "Leave my world. And pray that I never see your face again." Draven's eyes burned with rage, but he said nothing. He turned and walked away, his soldiers following. The garden emptied quickly after that. Soon. Only the queen, the princess, and Daniel remained. Kaya was still holding onto Daniel's hand. His grip was weak, but he had not let go. "He needs help," Kaya said, her voice breaking. "Mother, please. He saved me." The queen looked down at the broken human. His eyes met hers for just a second before they closed. She turned to her guards. "Take him to the healers. Keep him alive." Then she picked up her daughter and held her close. The sun began to set over the garden. Blood stained the white stones. And somewhere in the distance, a corvus ship rose into the sky, carrying fury and the promise of revenge. But Daniel Carter heard none of it. He was already lost in darkness, dreaming of a little girl with a missing tooth and a laugh that made everything feel okay. Daniel woke up in a white room. The ceiling was smooth and bright. The air smelled clean, like nothing at all. For a moment, he thought he was dead. Then the pain came. It was not as sharp as before, but it was everywhere. His ribs ached. His back burned. His head felt heavy and slow. He tried to move, but his body refused to listen. A face appeared above him. A Volanthi healer with kind eyes. She pressed something cold against his neck, and the pain became softer. "Do not move," she said. "Your injuries were severe. You have been sleeping for 3 days. 3 days." Daniel closed his eyes. He remembered the garden, the soldiers, the blood, and the princess, small and warm in his arms. "The princess," he whispered. His voice was rough like sandpaper. "Is she safe?" The healer looked surprised. "Yes, the princess is unharmed. Because of you." Daniel let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Good. That was good. He slept again. When he woke up the second time, he was stronger. The healers had done their work well. His bones were mending. His cuts were closing. But he would carry scars for the rest of his life. The marks of Draven's claws across his back and shoulder. A reminder of what he had done. On the 5th day, guards came to his room. "You are summoned to the throne room," one of them said. "The queen wishes to speak with you." Daniel felt fear rise in his chest. He had touched the princess. He had interfered in diplomatic matters. By all the laws of the empire, he should be dead. Maybe that was why the queen wanted to see him. Maybe she had been waiting for him to heal, so she could execute him properly. He stood on weak legs and followed the guards. The throne room was vast. Columns of white stone rose to a ceiling so high it looked like the sky. At the far end, on a throne made of crystal, sat Queen Saralin. Her silver eyes watched him as he walked forward. The room was full of nobles. Volanthi from the highest families, dressed in fine clothes, their faces cold and curious. Daniel kept his eyes on the floor. He was still wearing the simple clothes of a servant. He was still no one. He stopped at the base of the throne and lowered himself to his knees. The movement hurt, but he did not show it. "Human," the queen said. Her voice filled the room. "Do you know why you are here?" Daniel swallowed. "No, your majesty. Lord Draven has sent a message to me. He demands your execution. He says you assaulted a noble of the Corvith faction. He says your actions were an insult to his honor." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Daniel kept his head down. This was it. This was how he would die. Far from home. Far from Lily. "What do you say to this?" the queen asked. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice steady despite his fear. "I did not assault anyone, your majesty. I saw Lord Draven raise his hand against the princess. I could not stand by and watch him hurt a child. I put myself between them. That is all I did." More murmurs. Some nobles looked angry. Others looked uncertain. A voice called out from the crowd. "He is a slave. His life belongs to the empire. He had no right to interfere in royal matters." "He touched the princess," another voice said. "That alone is punishable by death." The queen raised her hand. The room went silent. "Princess Kaya," she said. "Come forward." A small figure emerged from beside the throne. The princess walked toward Daniel and stopped next to him. Her silver eyes were red from crying. but her face was determined. "Tell the court what happened," the queen said. Kaya took a breath. "Lord Draven was angry because I told him to stop hurting a servant. He walked toward me. He raised his claws. He was going to hit me." Her voice shook, but she did not stop. "Daniel ran to me. He put his body between us. Draven hit him instead of me. Then the soldiers beat him. They beat him for a long time. But he never let go of me. He never stopped protecting me." She looked up at her mother. "He saved my life. And he is kind. He always answered my questions. He told me about Earth and about his daughter. He is not a bad person. Please do not kill him." The room was silent. Queen Saralin looked at her daughter. Something shifted in her silver eyes. Something that might have been warmth. Then she looked at Daniel. "Human," she said. "Stand." Daniel rose to his feet. His legs trembled, but he stood straight. The queen spoke slowly, her words echoing through the room. "In our ancient laws, there is a right called the blood debt. When someone sheds their blood to protect the royal family, without being asked, without expecting reward, they are owed a debt that cannot be ignored." She stood from her throne and walked down the steps toward him. The nobles gasped. The queen never left her throne during court. She stopped in front of Daniel. They were almost the same height. "You bled for my daughter," she said quietly, so only he could hear. "Why?" Daniel looked into her silver eyes. He saw no warmth there, no kindness. But he saw something else, curiosity, maybe even respect. "She reminded me of my daughter," he said. "My little girl, back on Earth. When I saw Draven raise his hand, I did not think. I just moved. I could not let him hurt her. I could not." The queen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. She turned to face the court. This human acted with honor. He protected royal blood at the cost of his own. By the ancient law of the blood debt, he is owed recognition. Her voice hardened. "Lord Draven raised his hand against my daughter. He is the one who committed an offense. Not this man." She looked at Daniel once more. "You will be healed. You will be given proper quarters. And when you are strong again, you will return to me. We have more to discuss." She walked back to her throne and sat down. "This court is dismissed." The nobles began to leave, whispering among themselves. Daniel stood frozen, unable to believe what had just happened. He was alive. The queen had defended him. And for the first time in 2 years, someone had called him a man, not a slave. Princess Kaya walked up to him and took his hand. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you for saving me." Daniel looked down at her. His eyes were wet, but he smiled. "Thank you for being worth saving," he said. And somewhere deep in his broken heart, hope began to grow again. 1 week passed. Daniel healed slowly. His body was strong, but the wounds had been deep. The scars on his back would never fade completely. He would carry them forever. But other things were changing too. He no longer slept in the small room with the other servants. He had been given quarters in the middle levels of the palace. A real room with a real bed. Clean clothes that fit him properly. Food that was warm and fresh. The other servants did not know what to think. Some looked at him with respect. They had heard what he did. They whispered about the human who stood against a Corvith lord. Others looked at him with fear or jealousy. A slave rising above his place was dangerous. It made people uncomfortable. Daniel tried not to think about it. He spent his days resting and walking through the palace gardens. Princess Kaya visited him often. She brought him books about Volanti history and asked him more questions about Earth. Each visit made the days feel lighter. On the 7th day, a guard came to his room. "The queen summons you," the guard said, "to her private chambers." Daniel's heart beat faster. The private chambers, not the throne room. This was different. He followed the guard through hallways he had never seen before. They were quieter here, more beautiful. The walls were decorated with paintings of stars and distant worlds. The floor was soft under his feet. Finally, they reached a large door carved with flowers and moons. The guard stepped aside. "Enter," a voice said from within. Daniel pushed open the door. Queen Saralyn's private chambers were not what he expected. They were warm. Soft light came from glowing crystals set into the walls. There were shelves filled with books and strange objects. A window looked out over the palace gardens far below. The queen stood by the window. She was not wearing her crown. Without it, she looked almost ordinary. Almost. "Come closer," she said without turning around. Daniel walked forward and stopped a few feet behind her. He did not know if he should kneel or bow or speak. "Do you know how long I have ruled this empire?" she asked. "No, Your Majesty. 312 years. She turned to face him. Her silver eyes were thoughtful, not cold. "In all that time, I have had countless guards, countless protectors, warriors trained from birth to defend the royal family, men and women who swore oaths and wore armor and carried weapons." She paused. "Not one of them ever did what you did." Daniel did not know what to say. When Draven raised his hand, "My guards were in the garden. They saw what was happening. They had weapons. They had training. And they did nothing. They calculated the political cost. They worried about consequences. They waited for orders." She walked toward him. Her steps were silent. "But you, a human slave with nothing to gain and everything to lose, you ran toward danger without a single thought. You put your body between death and my daughter. And when they beat you, you did not let go." She stopped in front of him. Why? It was the same question she had asked in the throne room. Daniel gave the same answer. "She reminded me of my daughter, my Lily. When I saw danger coming for her, I could not stand still. My body moved before my mind could stop it. Protecting children is not something I think about. It is something I am." The queen studied his face. "Tell me about your daughter." Daniel felt the familiar ache in his chest. "Her name is Lily. She was 5 years old when I was taken. Brown hair, big smile. She used to laugh at everything. She thought bugs were funny. She liked to pick flowers." His voice grew thick. "I do not know if she is still alive. I do not know if anyone is taking care of her. I think about her every day." The queen was quiet for a long moment. "In my 300 years," she said slowly, "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have seen species destroy each other over nothing. I have seen cruelty beyond imagination." She paused. "But I have rarely seen love like yours. Love that does not calculate. Love that simply acts." She walked to a small table and picked up a silver box. "There is an ancient rite among my people. It is called the Valarkan, the choosing. It has not been used in over a century." She opened the box and pulled out a chain with a crystal pendant. "When someone proves their worth through blood and sacrifice, they can be bonded to the royal family, not as a servant or a guard, but as something higher, a protector with honor, a voice that can speak to the throne directly." She held up the pendant. It glowed softly in the light. "I am offering you this right, Daniel Carter. If you accept, you will no longer be a slave. You will have status above any noble in my court. You will be bound to protect my daughter and my bloodline." Daniel stared at her. He did not believe what he was hearing. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you give this to a human?" "Because my empire has forgotten something important," the queen said. "We have become too careful, too political. We calculate everything and feel nothing. We have power, but we have lost our hearts." She looked at the pendant. "You reminded me what true strength looks like. It is not claws or weapons or armies. It is the willingness to sacrifice everything for someone else. She held out the pendant. Do you accept? Daniel looked at the chain. He thought about Lily. He thought about home. Then he thought about Princess Kaya, her small hand holding his, her bright eyes full of trust. I accept, he said. But I have one request. The Queen raised an eyebrow. Speak. Help me find my daughter. Help me learn if she is alive. That is all I ask. The Queen was silent. Then, slowly, she nodded. Your request will require resources. Ships, soldiers. It may take you far from this palace, into dangerous space. She looked into his eyes. Are you prepared for that? Yes, Daniel said without hesitation. For her, I will go anywhere. The Queen placed the chain around his neck. The crystal pendant rested against his chest. It was warm, like a small heartbeat. Then it is done, she said. You are now Velarkin, protector of the crown. The first human to hold this title in our history. She stepped back. Rest tonight. Tomorrow, we begin planning your journey. And Daniel? He looked at her. When you find your daughter, bring her back here. The palace could use more humans with hearts like yours. Daniel bowed his head. For the first time since his capture, he felt tears of hope instead of despair. Thank you, Your Majesty. The Queen turned back to the window. Thank me when you succeed, she said. The galaxy is large, and the path ahead is hard. But I think perhaps you are strong enough to walk it. Daniel left the chambers with the pendant against his heart and fire in his soul. He was going to find his daughter. Nothing in the universe would stop him. News of Daniel's elevation spread through the palace like fire. By morning, everyone knew. The human slave who saved the princess was now Velarkin. He wore the crystal pendant of a royal protector. He had been raised higher than counts and barons and lords who had served the empire for generations. Some were angry. They whispered in corners about the shame of giving such honor to a primitive species. Others were curious. They watched Daniel when he walked through the halls, trying to understand what made this human different. But among the other human slaves, the reaction was something else entirely. Hope. They passed the story from one to another in soft voices. A man named Daniel Carter, a slave like them. He had stood against a Corvith lord. He had taken a beating that should have killed him. And instead of death, he had found honor. If one human could rise, maybe others could too. Daniel felt the weight of their eyes on him. He understood what he had become. Not just a protector, but a symbol. He had to be careful with that. Princess Kaya was the happiest of all. She found him in the gardens on his first morning as Velarkin and threw her arms around him. You are staying, she said. Mother told me. You are going to be my protector forever. Daniel smiled and knelt down to her level. I have to go away for a while first. I need to find my daughter. Kaya's face fell. You are leaving? For a time. But I will come back. I promise. She looked at him with serious silver eyes. Do you always keep your promises? I try to, Daniel said. And this one is important. I will come back to you, princess. I swear it. She nodded slowly. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small object. It was a stone smooth and blue, no bigger than her thumb. This is my lucky stone, she said. I found it when I was little. It always makes me feel brave. She pressed it into his hand. Take it with you, so you remember to come back. Daniel closed his fingers around the stone. It was warm from her pocket. I will keep it safe, he said. Thank you, princess. She hugged him again, tired this time. Later that day, Daniel was summoned to the military wing of the palace. The Queen had assigned a small crew to accompany him on his journey. 5 Alanti soldiers, a pilot, and a navigator. They would take a fast scout ship to Earth sector and search for any record of Lily Carter. The soldiers watched Daniel with mixed expressions as he entered the room. Most of them looked uncertain. One of them looked angry. His name was Commander Varine. He was tall and strong, with scars on his arms from many battles. He had served the Empire for 60 years, and he did not like the idea of serving a human. "So you are the one we are supposed to follow," Varine said. His voice was cold. A creature from a primitive world who got lucky once. Daniel met his eyes without flinching. "I am not asking you to follow me, Commander. The Queen has given us a mission. We will complete it together." "Together?" Varine stepped closer. "You think we are equals?" "I think we are both trying to serve something bigger than ourselves," Daniel said calmly. "You serve the Empire. I serve my daughter. And right now, the Queen has decided those goals are connected." Varine stared at him for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. Not respect, exactly, but perhaps the beginning of curiosity. "We will see," Varine said finally. "We will see if you are worth the honor you have been given." Daniel nodded. "That is fair." The ship departed the next morning. Daniel stood at the viewing window as the palace grew smaller beneath them. The blue sky faded to black. Stars appeared, countless and bright. Somewhere out there, past hundreds of light years of empty space, was Earth. And on Earth, maybe, was Lily. He held the photograph in his hand. The same worn picture he had carried for 2 years. Lily smiled up at him, frozen in time, forever 5 years old. "I am coming," he whispered. "Hold on, baby. Daddy is coming." Behind him, the crew worked in silence. The pilot set the course. The navigator calculated the jump points. Varine watched everything with sharp eyes as they prepared to enter hyperspace. Queen Saralyn's voice came through the communication system. It was a recorded message, meant only for Daniel. "Daniel Carter," her voice said. "You are about to begin a journey that will take you far from my empire. You will see things that few humans have ever seen. You will face dangers that would break lesser men." There was a pause. "But I did not choose you because you were unbreakable. I chose you because when you break, you get back up. That is what my empire has forgotten. That is what you taught my daughter. That is what you will teach the galaxy." Another pause. "Find your daughter. Bring her home. And know that wherever you go, you carry the honor of the Velanthi crown with you. Do not let me regret my choice." The message ended. Daniel touched the crystal pendant around his neck. Then he touched Kaya's lucky stone in his pocket. Then he looked at the photograph one more time. "Jump in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Daniel walked to the center of the bridge and stood tall. "Take us to Earth," he said. The stars stretched into lines. The ship jumped into hyperspace. And Daniel Carter, once a slave, now a protector, began his journey home not far behind him, in the palace. Princess Kaya stood at her window and watched his ship disappear into the light. "Come back safe," she whispered and far ahead. In the shadows of space, Lord Draven received news of the human's departure. His eyes burned with hatred. His claws scraped against his throne. "So the human leaves?" he said softly. "Good. Let him think he has won. Let him find his daughter. Let him feel hope." He smiled, and it was a terrible thing. "Then I will take everything from him, just as he took everything from me." The war between them had only begun, but Daniel did not know that yet. All he knew was the stars ahead and the promise in his heart. He would find Lily. He would bring her somewhere safe. And if anyone tried to stop him, they would learn what humans were really made of. Not weakness, not fear, not surrender, but love that never gives up, courage that never breaks, and a fire that burns brighter the hotter the wind blows. The galaxy was about to learn something the Velanthi Queen already knew. Humans were not prey. They were protectors. And nothing was more dangerous than a human fighting for family.